Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Energy, brought to you by RichAfrica. We are live from Africa Energy Week 2024, and I am Sunela Dos Santos, your host. And the podcast today will be discussing all things energy. And today we have with us Selma Shimutwikeni, CEO of RichAfrica and founder of the Namibian International Energy Conference. Welcome and thank you so much for being here today and making the time to be here with us in this beautiful afternoon in Cape Town.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. So, what inspired the birth of the Namibia International Energy Conference?
Oh wow, that's a great question. I'm passionate about transforming natural resources into wealth and development for Africans. I'm a lawyer by training, and I specialize in natural resources law and policy. And I think the key question was always, why are we are rich but poor?
Yes.
And I think thought leadership is very important to kind of get solutions to some of these challenges we're facing on the continent, in Namibia. In terms of energy poverty, we all know that energy is an enabler for development. So in 2012, I founded the Namibia International Oil and Gas Conference at the time. And the idea was to have important conversations on how energy can be a blessing in terms of oil and gas, can be a blessing for us and not a curse. So since 2012, I've been convening local, international, regional leaders to discuss, different themes around the energy sector, such as, local content, how creating in-country value. Because as you know, in the industry, it's all about balancing interests. We have the investors on one hand, you have the people having, expectations, rightfully so. And then you have the government whose role is to create an enabling environment to make sure we unlock the value of these resources that we keep finding. And so, that was kind of the inspiration, is to bring business leaders, government leaders, experts to unpack important issues, by the same time facilitate investment linkages. And then obviously with sustainability at the heart in terms of the S in ESG being at the forefront. So that's kind of the inspiration behind the platform. I think it's very important for Africans to shape, their own narrative.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And then can you give us an insight on the framework of the Namibian energy landscape?
Oh, wow. Namibia's energy landscape is it's very diverse and very exciting at the moment. There's many developments, not only in oil and gas, with recent discoveries by Shell, Total Energies, and Gulp, to name a few, but also there's many advancements in the renewable energy space. So the country has taken an energy mix approach, which I believe is the right approach for Africa. There's a whole conversation internationally around the transition. They say it's a just transition, but for us to have a just transition, we need to transition from something. And currently we have, the majority of our people do not have access to power. Not only in Namibia, it's a continental issue with 600 million people not having access. So if you don't have energy, you cannot build infrastructure, you cannot, economic growth, is closely linked to, energy access. So Namibia has a great enabling environment. That's why we're able to attract international oil companies, international service companies, because it's very important. I mean, the sector is capital intensive, and also in terms of the skills, is also highly, skills intensive as well. So, as I said earlier, it's about different interests and making sure there's win-win solutions for the investors and also for the Namibian people or the African people.
Yes. No, I hear you. And in your opinion, would you say that local content is being prioritized or not?
I think it's definitely being prioritized. In our national energy policy, it is very clear that local content, in terms of Namibian participation along the entire value chain, is a priority. Our government has a draft local content policy currently, and they're busy with stakeholder consultations. In terms of getting different viewpoints from the Namibians themselves, but also from the companies. Because for local content to work, we need the companies to also embrace it. It is not a foreign concept. It's something that's done all over the world. I think it just depends on what phase of the industry, because obviously we need to build capacity and capability to ensure we have participation of the locals in the industry. So we also have to manage expectations and be to just manage expectations. But at the same time, you can grow with the industry. So it's kind of like a phased approach. It's highly specialized, the industry. So from an ownership level, you have Namibians, for example, who have oil blocks. Then from also a services point of view, even currently, even though we're not at production phase, many Namibians are participating in terms of the transportation space, security services, aviation. So I think it's definitely prioritized, but I think the stakeholders are also realistic. In terms of how to roll it out. So I think it's a priority. I mean, the government has been very clear that that's something that they would like to see. And also many of the companies have programs within, in terms of training and capacity building, and to include Namibians in the industry. So it's definitely prioritized. It's important.
Okay. And how has the relationship with African Energy Week created value for you as a leader, as well for your institutions?
It's created great value. I'm closely aligned to the vision of Africa Energy Week. All the African countries are having similar challenges. We're not saying do a copy and paste approach, but there's so much we can learn from other African countries, and some are more advanced than others. And also, it's a great platform to meet all the key stakeholders, the decision makers in terms of the oil companies, energy companies. I had a chance to participate in interesting panel discussions. There was a closed session on women participating in the industry, which was very exciting.
And important.
And very important. We got to hear from the leadership, the different African ministers, and their position on the industry. And it's just good to have community trying to solve the same problem, but at the same time also understanding the needs of the partners. And trying to see how best to address the issues. I think it's an amazing initiative. I've been participating since its inception. It definitely has grown. I believe it's very impactful because I got a chance to meet potential partners, people who are interested to invest in Namibia. We have an exhibition stand where we kind of showcase our timeline and our services as RichAfrica consultancy. And I think it's the best, platform for the energy conversation in Africa, for Africa, which is amazing.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Yes.
I'm glad that it's all valuable for your industry, and just I'm sure as you as a woman as well.
Yeah, and sometimes you as a woman leader, you think you're alone.
Yes,
but there's so many other amazing women across different aspects of the industry. So it's great also just to get together, encourage each other,
exactly.
And share lessons as well. And also in terms of the men as well, they are championing women participation, because we need them, to be allies.
Yes,
very
true.
Yeah, so it's all about collaboration, and that is kind of what I'm seeing from the platform. It's actually unlocking a lot of collaboration.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear. That it's been very informative. Thank you so much for all this information. And we look forward to seeing you in the next Africa Energy Conference. And it's been a privilege to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
All right.